Welcome back to another Deep in State. I'm your host, Nick Hawks. On today's show, we have Markus Levin, co-founder at XYO. This episode is sponsored by Goldhawks & Associates, the most experienced DePIN consultancy in the space. We help projects develop strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We'll have a little bit more on us later in the show. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, smash the bell, all the great things that help us keep bringing guests like Markus to you. Markus, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
I'm psyched to have you on board. I was super psyched to realize that you guys are based out of San Diego. But before we get into our local history, tell me a little bit about who you are and what XYO is.
Yeah. I'm one of the co-founders of XYO. And XYO is the original DePIN. We started our mainnet even half a year or so before Helium in 2018. And we connect real-world data with blockchain. Basically, we're an oracle. We also validate and verify the data as well, so it's trustless, which is important for oracles. A lot of oracle data is not that trustless. And we started out as a proof of location protocol, and now we do still the location part, but any other data really as well.
Got it. Now, you and Helium have kind of a shared almost timeline, as I think they started 2013. XYO is started in 2012. And then 2018, you guys do the, I think 2017 is the blockchain, 2019 is the coin app. But for folks who may not understand, like, oh, this is a proof of location and trustless oracles and the rest of it, like, walk me through for a normal person how XYO works. They sign up for an app, and then what do they do with that thing?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit more of the history so it's easier to understand what we currently do. So sure. We realized in 2017, we realized location gets as easily spoofed or hacked, right? You can download the GPS spoofing app and you can pretend that you are in LA right now, but you're actually in San Diego. And that's a problem for most apps on your phone, but also for automated supply chains and self-driving cars and the stuff. So we created a network of IoT devices which do bound witnesses or basically cryptographic handshakes. And then as those devices interact with each other, we get more certainty that something was at a certain location, or you get a relational map and so on. And you get some cryptography basically to have a high degree of certainty that the location is true and correct. And we try to scale that network. We had lots and lots of IoT devices, but we hit some roadblocks with partners like T-Mobile and SK Telecom and other telcos and other IoT providers. And because of that, we launched an app called Coin to make it easier for people to put up these IoT devices. And as you know, your phone is a super powered IoT device as well. And so the Coin app lets you do these cryptographic handshakes as well. It's in the background, and for them you earn points or XYO inside the app. But now you can layer other data on top of as well. So for example, temperature sensor data, or even offline data, let's say point of interest data like a restaurant, or even location-based data inside the app. Something you might be asked, how does the weather look outside to you right now? Do you see clouds? Stuff like that. And we have two technologies for that. We have the proof of location technology, and then we have a proof of origin as well, which allows us to say, okay, a certain data point was generated in this temperature sensor, let's say, right? And then it was stored in an IPFS database, right? And then the data got connected to a smart contract somewhere, and with our technology, you are able to have these blocks, XYO blocks, basically, which where the handover from point where it's stored to the next point gets basically tangled, and there's a proof for that. And this way, we have data with extremely high accuracy, right, which is very important for AI applications, for example, or even if you think about, in your Uber app, right, you want to know that the restaurant has the right data where you're going, right, or for really health data and a lot of other applications.
Got it. So if we kind of zoom way out and look at this, is XYO is a project that allows people to contribute basically their data in general. So whether it's temperature sensor or maybe a weather station or a picture of the sky to check on what the weather is like, or maybe data coming off a vehicle, all of that data has two, I guess, dimensions to it. One is that it came from a certain place, this proof of location, and then it came from a certain maybe entity, which is the proof of origin. And then that data can be aggregated and sold to data buyers. Am I getting that kind of generally correct?
That is an amazing observation. Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. That is exactly how it is.
Cool. Super cool. So I guess the flip side of this, or the next side, if that's the supply side, is that there's all these people that can create the data, and you can use your phone. And can you use any sensor? I've got an LHT65 temperature and humidity sensor. It's a LoRaWAN thing. Can I put that on an XYO, or is there specific ways that it only allows, certain devices, certain protocols to come on?
No, you can put any sensor on it. There's no limit to it. It might be, if it's not plug and play with us, it might be, the setup might be a little more difficult if you haven't done it before, but
okay,
you can do it with any one. Also, our technology is open source, right? So you can play around and see how it fits for you.
Okay, so LoRaWAN, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, kind of anything that comes in, there's a way to do it. It may be a little bit more technically advanced if it's kind of super nerdy, but it sounds like you guys can take on onboard any device data.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Super cool. We'll talk a little bit more about the anti-gaming side of that, because that's always a big concern. But we'll take a quick break now and talk about today's sponsor, 𝐒𝐻𝐤𝐚𝐤𝐸 Associates. We're a DePIN consultant firm helping projects with strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We run a blog for founders over at 𝐒𝐮𝐤𝐴ndITS.com, produce this show, and most importantly, work with the core teams and communities of your favorite projects in the space to ensure tokenomics and incentives are fully aligned to build out some of the most badass physical infrastructure networks in the world. If your project needs help with any of these, check out 𝐒𝐮𝐤𝐴ndITS.com. Okay, Markus, so we covered the supply side, is that any data coming in from anywhere, from your phone, from a sensor, from whatever, goes into the system. Let's talk about the demand side. Like, who's buying this? Are you actually selling this data? Do you have like $1 in revenue? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. I want to say one more thing on the supply side. So
sure,
we have more than 8 million devices out there, which makes us the largest DePIN, I think. And our users in the Coin app, for example, they use the app more than 3 hours a day in the foreground. That's most usage than all social media apps get combined. But we have a 4.5 star rating in both stores. So obviously, everybody's pretty happy about it. And that goes now to the supply side, because they can really earn a really good amount of XYO or money, right? And that is because we have dozens and dozens of data partnerships which buy that data in the Web 2 space, and then in the Web 3 space, we work with companies like Chainlink and others. And the problem in the Web 3 space, we want to have more and more Web 3 partners. The problem there is, there's not so much demand yet, for Web 3 data. Most of that data is for like financial applications like DeFi, this type of stuff, but we are highly confident that ecosystem is going to grow, right? Between DePINs, for example, right? They need a lot of data, for example, and or blockchain AI applications, right? They will also need a lot of data. So we think that the Web3 part is going to grow. But so right now, the people who pay us, or the companies which pay us, they might pay us in US dollars, right? We take those US dollars and turn them into XYO and then put them into our ecosystem. And because tokenomics work in a way, right, that everybody gets incentivized basically with XYO.
And if I remember right, you were telling me the first time we met that you guys had set this up in the US and said, hey, we don't want to deal with like trying to set this up as a Cayman Islands company and basically avoiding all of this stuff. We're just going to go in and do it right from the start, even if that is way more complicated and difficult. Am I getting that right as well?
Yeah. You are correct. Yeah, we launched, in 2018. So right after the ICO craze in 2017, it was just bananas, like the kind of projects which were there. It was scammy. And so we said, we're not going to do that. We want to show that we are a real project. And so we set up our foundation and our for-profit operating company inside the US. And that led to a lot of complications as well, but also a lot of transparency, because in the end, when we sold our tokens in the US, we said if you were not accredited, you weren't able to buy our token, only when you were an accredited investor, and overseas, of course. But we were the first company in the blockchain space which was qualified by the SEC to sell its shares to ordinary investors as well. So like you and me and our grandmas, basically. And today, because of that, we have more than 24,000 shareholders in XYO Labs. And because we wanted to provide liquidity to those people as well, not only the people who invested in XYO or utility token, we tokenized these shares and listed them on an alternative trading system in the US. And today, so we were the second or third company to do that in the US, and we were at times the most traded private company on an ATS in the US, and our shareholders absolutely love it. As you know, the liquidity is still a little low on some of these like real-world asset exchanges because the regulation is slow. Maybe it's going to speed up now, but it's slow, and so liquidity is a little low. But for retail investors, it's absolutely exciting. I think that they can go in and out of a position at ease, and we are excited. Now you can trade it, I think, in more than 50 countries. You can trade on the ATS, and so you can decide if you want to have a share in XYO Labs, right, and participate in the growth of everything, right, or want to invest in or buy the XYO utility token to be part of the XYO ecosystem.
You got some options. Love it. Love it. And I think that, so let's see, you said 24,000 users, there's 8 million nodes. So does each user have a bunch of nodes? Is that what you're seeing? Or is it, how does that work?
No, we have 8 million nodes and those are users basically. And then we have 24,000 shareholders in XYO.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I got that wrong. And then are you able to disclose revenue, or is that something that's still proprietary to the company?
No, it's not. We did last year, we did $10.5 million in revenue. Also one of the best earning DePINs, I think, especially outside of finance. The financial, in the finance applications in crypto, they make a lot of money, but everything else didn't make that much money. But we showed that you can. And this year, I can't tell you the whole year yet because of our obligations with the SEC. I can't say we will be at a certain state, but it's going on.
It's looking good. Okay. And then, I mean, people watching this will probably be excited because as I'm putting this together, you guys are the original DePIN, right? I think that's the claim on the site. And I'm sure we're going to get people popping up and saying, I'm the original DePIN, but you've got as good a claim as anyone else. You've got actual revenue coming in. You've got a bunch of active users. It sounds like they are insanely active. 3 hours a day is the average on the Coin app. Is there a way, so people are, I would imagine, be pretty excited. They go to, is it XYO.network, they download the Coin app, they figured out they use it. Is there a way for a person to do a better job? Like if I'm on my phone 5 hours a day using this app and I'm always taking pictures of cars and whatever, the weather, etc., do I earn more? Or is it like a set state that no matter how much you're on or off, you earn the same?
No, you definitely earn more. So certain people which have jobs which are conducive to them earning more, so someone who moves around more, let's say a truck driver, for example, then they are able to earn more, and that's good for them. We have these crazy stories. I met a truck driver, for example. He made so much with the Coin app, he retired, got out $400,000 and started his own business. And we heard all these stories, like people paid off their mortgage, someone went on a 20-year delayed honeymoon, and someone bought a car after whatever time. And it's that's the beauty of our industry, right? Is that you have some volatility in these assets. So if you earn this money or crypto in our case, right, you hold it and then you hit an uptick like we saw in the last week, right? Then you might benefit from that. So it's in a way, it's a little hope for the future as well. And that way, you can earn, if you're lucky, incredible amounts of money.
Yeah, no, it's a super cool thing. And there's certainly a speculative piece to it. I think the thing that I like is that someone can come in and through more effort and more high quality effort, they can earn more. It always seems like I'm always looking for these kind of meritocratic systems. I guess the last piece is there any device or is there any kind of category of data that you guys are valuing at a much higher rate than other categories? Is it best to see if I can onboard a weather station or a camera or a car, or is there anything where you're like, no, we need way more of this?
Real world data collection. So if you go somewhere and collect the data point, that's usually we pay more for, but it's quite dynamic. It can be that you get, I don't know, $1 worth of XYO for something, or maybe 5 or maybe 10 cents. It really depends what kind of demand we have there. We have some interesting stuff coming over the next 2-3 months for data collection, where you're gonna be able to earn way more and be more dynamic, and that's gonna be great, I think. And then we have some other crazy stuff in the works. So maybe the token. I'm not going to.
Okay. So just follow XYO.network. Yeah, super cool. Markus, thanks so much for making the time. I know you're super busy as a founder. You're always got something going on. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit about XYO with us.
Thanks for inviting me, Nick. It was awesome.